I knew the Gorillaz went big with each album, but I honestly can't say that I expected them to have a full entourage of bikers accompanying them to the interview. The sound of a cacophony of roaring engines, accompanied by the whimsical clown horns, and slightly alarming roar of a lion just outside my office, alerted me to their arrival, a whole 10 minutes prior to them actually arriving here. I was greeted by a handful of scowling faces alongside the band as I opened the door to greet them. Among the group were several bikers that I didn't recognize, an octopus that spun itself as if it were a tire, using its limited edition Gorillaz Converse-clad tentacles to propel itself forward, Snoop Dogg riding an actual lion, and the unexpected but welcome return of bassist Ace. The band was located in the center of this ragtag group, as they had formed a circle around them. Noodle was the first to dismount her vehicle, a sort of unicycle motor vehicle that one would see in movies like Men in Black or Tron, decked out in Dayglow alloys. It could be driven either by using the complex keypad or by balance controls. She was dressed in a sort of bodysuit that was just as technological as it was stylish. The neon tubes on her forearms caught my attention immediately. This followed by her neon pink pixie cut hair. She waved, followed by a greeting.
Good morning!
Good morning. Murdoc was seated on his silver vintage Harley-Davidson knucklehead. His denim jacket was faded and torn, dozens of various patches seemingly holding the old garment together. He was also wearing skin-tight leather pants, which he was surprisingly pulling off rather well. His hair was trimmed on the sides, a low mohawk in the middle. He smirked at me as he dismounted and casually strolled over.
Hey mate, I know it's a bit early, but you got any booze on ya? I'm quite parched from the ride, yeah.
I don't keep alcohol at my office.
It's going to be a short interview then, isn't it?
I turned my attention away from Murdoc to greet the rest of the band, and about jumped out of my skin when I was met face to face with Russel Hobbs. He had somehow silently sneaked up on me, while my attention was on Murdoc, his stoic figure hulking over my diminutive form. He greeted me with a simple,
Pleasure.
Russel was dressed in solid leather, from his jacket to his boots, each clad with spikes reminiscent of gothic culture, or Bowser from the video game franchise Super Mario. He was wearing a plain white t-shirt under the jacket, likely to keep him overheating from the exorbitant amount of leather. Something that caught me off guard was the fact that he now had hair. I'm not one to assume, but I suppose the greasy hair, reminiscent of greasers in the 50s, could have been a sort of wig? Or was it that Russell had simply been shaving his head all this time? His bike was a tank of a vehicle, a chopper with tall handlebars, and a modded frame that brought the bike up to a towering height. While facing Russell, 2D, Stuart Pott, had tried to sneak up on me as well, but much less effectively. A squeaky metallic chirp accompanied his pedaling as he made his way to me, still wearing his oversized helmet, which was covered in various stickers that were oddly charred in some places. His motorbike was one of those three-wheelers, reminiscent of a tricycle, but what made his special was the fact that it could be pedaled when the engine was off. He was wearing a plain denim jacket and matching denim pants that climbed his waist nearly up to his chest. He wore a white t-shirt under this with the words, "Born to Ride or Die," printed in bold. Clearly, a call to the new album's lead single, Ride or Die. His smell reached me before he did. He smelled of burned hair and plastic. He struggled to remove his helmet, revealing the source of the smell. His blue hair was all frizzed out into a messy afro, the ends charred a bit. He greeted me, still seated on his strange, foot-pedaled motorbike.
Hello, I'm 2D,
he said, as if I didn't immediately recognize the singer at first glance. He got up from his bike, leaving the helmet on the seat. I asked him about his charred ends, and he quickly explained to me that he had been struck by lightning several times during their travels.
The group of us were riding along and out of the blue, a bolt of lightning came down and struck me helmet. Gave the hair a good bit of charring, but I suppose the helmet did its job and kept me from getting too injured. It happened about 5 times on the way here alone. I think it might have rented a patch of bad luck.
As if on cue, a bolt of lightning struck the helmet behind 2D, scorching off the back of his jacket.
Yeah. Now that I think about it, maybe the helmet itself is cursed.
Be it bad luck or something supernatural is up for debate. But from Murdoc's chuckles and menacing grin upon seeing the strike, I assume he might have had something to do with it. I think it's best you leave the helmet inside then.
Right.
Once everyone was situated on the couch, and the 2 easy chairs in the lounge, I began my first question. Alright, so Gorillaz is obviously not shy about mixing up genres between albums, but what inspired the classic rock and metal elements of the new record, Road Ragerz?
Well, what better to go along with the all-out war between Ace's old mates and our new gang than metal and rock and roll?
Noodle quickly clarifies.
We have yet to engage in a battle. Peace would be our first choice, but when the time comes, we may be forced to engage in a violent manner. Murdoc has been a little trigger-happy as of late.
Yeah. It's simply better to be prepared, I say. The combat seems inevitable, if you ask me.
Murdoc had us loaded up with the big guns, but the tongue is mightier than the sword. Lyrically speaking, we have them beaten already.
So what caused Ace's old gang to turn against him? Ace begins to speak up, but is cut off by Murdoc.
It's karma, if we're being honest. A bit back, this sodder replaced me as the bassist for the band. Now, granted, I was in jail, and we did invite him to help us out that time. But he thought he could replace me indefinitely. According to word around town, he left Snake to lead the Gangreen gang in his stead, and they went off the rails, started robbing the locals, and causing all sorts of trouble, even joining up with a local gang and waging war against rival factions, just to claim more turf. What a disgrace. And to think Ace and I were mates back in the day.
Could you tell us a bit more about that? Ace tries to speak up again, but is cut off by Murdoc once more.
Ace was the one who introduced me to some of the darker sides of music. We needn't get into that today.
Getting back into the music then, what brought about the funky closing track, Ghost Town, in collaboration with Snoop Dogg? 2D speaks up about this one.
Well, as you know, Snoop has collaborated with us on a bunch in the past, so we know right start when we wanted him to write again on the album. Ghost Town feels very ambiguous from a musical standpoint. It's lyrically somber, but yet with a tinge of promise and excitement. We don't know how this thing will end, but it's kind of the point here, isn't it? The track matches the situation, I suppose.
Little Dragon's a fan favorite. I, for one, am happy to have her back and collaborating with you all. Was working with her on Armor Up any different than when you guys worked with her in the past?
I'll take this one, as Little Dragon and I sing together in this track. It was a bit different, because we were harmonizing together while duetting with TD, and it felt like some sort of music battle. Each line combats and contrasts with what the other group of singers is saying, in a back and forth exchange. The song was designed to feel like a bar fight at a rock rodeo, and not many know this.
I hadn't considered that, but yeah, that makes total sense with the sound of the track. Thanks for pointing that out. It was at this time that Murdoc stood up. What I assumed was a joke, concerning the booze, clearly was not.
I'm dreadfully thirsty. Can we get something to drink before continuing? The ride here was quite long, and it's rude not to offer your guests a drink, you know.
I have a few drinks in the back. Want me to go get them?
I knew you had booze, mate. Why were you holding out?
Like I said, I don't keep alcohol at the office. I have drinks, but nothing strong.
And you expect me to believe that? A grown man, all alone in the middle of nowhere with so little to do. Come on then, you must have something.
Well, feel free to check the back room to your right and help yourself to whatever you find. Don't blame me if you're disappointed, though. Nothing back there is alcoholic. Anyways, where were we? Yeah, let's talk about Dirt Devil, featuring Del the Funky Homosapien and Thundercat. I knew you all could pull metal off, but I didn't expect the hip-hop twist. And I must say, I loved it. What inspired this clashing of worlds track?
Hip-hop is the sound of the streets, the sound of the people, the sound of the soul. The deep and dark trenches of the human psyche found in metal aren't soulless. This is where the real thoughts reside. Those words often left unspoken by the masses. It's time to break the silence, y'all. With hip-hop and metal joined hand in hand, we can make this a reality. The future is freedom.
Well said, Russ.
Let's talk about Warthog next. In this track, we see the return of Thundercat for a funky bass-filled joyride. Am I correct in assuming that Ace helped with the bass track on this one as well? Ace takes in a deep breath, ready to speak, but gets a call and has to walk out, leaving the rest of the band to explain the track.
Yes. Ace did help out with this song, as well as the bass portions of several tracks on Road Ragerz. Murdoc was supposed to do them, but he kept missing practice to take soul-searching joyrides with the gang. Ace stepped in and filled all the blanks. We are very grateful to have him back.
He's much more reliable than Murdoc, really. I liked his work on a previous album than Now. Maybe Murdoc can step back and fill a more managerial role, while Ace takes his place as a bassist. I think he would do right well job as a manager.
The band and interviewer look up as Murdoc approaches 2D, holding his virgin pina colada in a wine glass. 2D is oblivious that Murdoc silently reaches into a fanny pack on his side and removes a scorpion, placing it down the remaining half of 2D's shirt.
Thought they could replace me, eh? I knew the no-good lot were up to something.
Murdoc returns to his seat and sits down hard, removing a flask from his fanny pack, making his drink not so virgin.
We wouldn't be talking about anything of the sort if you would make practice now and then. Do you even know the progression of half of the song?
Of course I do. What, do you think I've completely turned my back on the band just because I'm getting to know the guys a little bit better? Don't be ridiculous.
I'm not the one who told Ace to fill in while I was gone.
What did you say?
Murdoc angrily stands. Meanwhile, 2D is still screaming. He runs past the group and trips over the table, knocking himself out.
Get it out!
The poor frightened scorpion takes this opportunity to escape out of the burned hole on the back of 2D's jacket. I'll have to remind myself to find it and set it free later.
You have been neglecting your responsibilities to the band.
And who was it that disappeared for 5 years after the El Mañana music video?
Are you really going to bring that up now?
Excuse me,
Ace, I didn't
could we calm down for a
stop.
moment? I still have a few more questions.
Quiet! Save the rage for the roll. Now both you settle down. You need your energy for what lies ahead. We can't start fighting amongst ourselves now. Well, the battle's already over.
Murdoc and Noodle sit back down. 2D is still unconscious. I took a deep breath and prepared myself for the next question, but sadly this is where my interview was cut short, as Ace peeked his head in the door and informed the room that something was going down back at the Biker HQ. The group thanked me for my time.
Thank you.
You really have to try this with booze. You're missing out big time.
Come here, 2D. Poor little fool, you just as bad as Muds. Later.
Russel says as he carries the unconscious 2D over his shoulder. He places 2D back on his bike and returns his helmet to his head. And without missing a beat, a bolt of lightning wakes him right up. The group races off, leaving behind a dusty trail of cigarettes and beer cans. Now, that was not the interview I was expecting in the least. Gorillaz Road Ragerz is available this winter in local music stores, iTunes, Google Play, and wherever else music is sold. The pre-album Spotify playlist, now including the lead single, Ride or Die. Thanks so much for watching. Now I'd like to take this opportunity to thank my patrons and channel members. Thanks to you, I'm able to do what I love. CNK114, Investigator Zeus, Dobby's Music, Jabber Mullins, Free Spirit Katie, MC Darfer, Vexus, Agnieszka, Granny Monster, Nightmare Luna, Lily Ardat, and Elliot the Epic 242. Really, thank you so much for everything you do. It means the world to me.